So to begin with, I want to share a little bit about herbalism, herbal energetics, and cautionary notes. So in Ayurveda and herbalism, whether even if you're looking at it just through the biochemical action of the plants, or through this esoteric lens, they all have differing effects on our bodies. So in Ayurveda, they say you're composed of the 4 elements of earth, wind, fire, and water. And so this is one of the methods we like to teach through, because it helps to understand what the different plants do. I'm also going to guide you through some sense meditation with the plants, and kind of help sort of guide you along how to identify these different herbal energetics. So if you think of in terms of even the temperature and the weather that has just changed, it just went from quite a bit warmer to cooler. This is one of the main energetic actions of plants and our bodies, where our different metabolism, different biochemistry interacts differently. So things that tend to be like dandelion or the clover and things here are going to tend to be more cooling and detoxifying. Things that are warming, that are maybe like garlic or chili or osha, they'll have that pungency. That's a warming quality. And different plants will be associated with different organ affinities, for instance. Some for digestion, some for respiratory. So we're going to go through this slowly, but I'm going to try to keep it, bare bones, but these are important concepts to bring in and try to understand, that basically the game of health, according to Ayurveda, is that we're balancing these energetics of earth, wind, fire, and water, and the heating and cooling aspects. And in Ayurveda, they say in balance, everything is medicine, and out of balance, everything makes chaos. So that's just some notes. The precautionary notes would be to always, as you get into foraging, to be sure to check multiple sources before you start experimenting with a new plant. And when experimenting, it's good to do it on an empty belly, and take just a little bit. And our bodies are these amazing biochemical, electromagnetic, sensory, vehicles that can sense quite clearly, just with sense, or with smell and the tasting at the tip of the tongue, whether something is going to be okay for you or not. Like if you get a little hit on the tip of your tongue and you start feeling it in your throat, that's probably going to be anaphylaxis, for you. So just it becomes a thing of dialing into your sense awareness, both in looking at the plants and identifying them through the different leaf structures and everything like that, and in the way that they interact with your bodies. So be sure you check multiple sources. Be sure not to try many things at once, and try to do, as you develop, you can just do like a meditation where you work with just dandelion, one that is very safe, that you can just sit with, check out its shape, its color, see where it grows, taste it in its different parts throughout the year. Try the leaves in the spring, try the flowers when they come, try the roots when they go down, and that way you can get to know that one plant better. Read about it, and then you really get to entrain to this one plant, and then you can build off that, that's a great way to start. And as our teacher says, it's better to know the 40 uses of one plant than you know the one use of 40 plants. Sitting right here, this is another concept I like to share is pronoia and electromagnetism. I'll start with electromagnetism because it dials into this thing of sense awareness, is that our hearts are actually this electromagnetic field that extends 50 feet beyond our body and interacts in a subtle electromagnetic sort of concert with everything else in the reality. So our electromagnetic body is interacting with that of the tree, and that's what I was trying to get you to remind me of tree hugging. That feels good because it is an electromagnetic cell tower, a big one, and so it gives you positive ions to hug a tree. You know, that's antioxidant. That's life-giving. So it's no wonder people like to hug trees. I like trees a lot in life. Oh, I love hugging trees. It's a good thing. So yeah, they did these experiments with bonobo monkeys to see how they understood what plants were edible, and they dropped them on this island where they didn't know any of the local flora and fauna, and they found that the animals just knew. And it's partly this smelling, tasting, and partly this electromagnetic sensory body that we have. It is your intuition. It is like an organ of your mind that we haven't flexed as often. So partly I want to engage that sense today. We're also we're gonna start taking a look at plants, and we're gonna look at through the lens of plant families a little bit, and this concept of pronoia, that the universe is conspiring in your favor at all times. Because right now we're completely surrounded by food. I'm looking, and I haven't seen one thing poison yet. And so I'd like to share about that a little bit. Now we got the thing that I picked up in the parking, the Todd would like to know about, which was the first plant that I came upon today, is pineapple weed, which is a relative of chamomile. It's getting kind of limp now, and I'll pass it around. It's called stinking chamomile. You can smell it. This one's a little dusty, so it doesn't have its usual pungency, but that makes a nice tea. It's another, like chamomile, another digestive herb, so it'll be good for digestion, calming, like a nerving herb, so soothing, kind of get you off to bed, relax you, you know. And
there's pineapple weed in the parking lot, but it's the lower.
That's a smaller one. That's stinking chamomile. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
And the pineapple weed is much more fragrant. But
Yes.
Todd, I think, came across this one. It's taller. So that's.
This smells like it.
Yeah.
They're similar. They're both in the those are both in the sunflower family, as well as this other friend here that we all know, dandelion. Their dandelion, or the sunflower family, is actually the largest family on the earth. Asteraceae. And this is all that information from botany in a day. And this is great because it simplifies a lot of the things. So a great many of the Asteraceae are food, you know. So we have like the chamomiles, we have daisies, we have dandelions. What's another good? Kota.
Kota is another family.
Thistles? Thistles, no, thistles
No,
is
they're
different.
not.
But,
They've got a similar flower.
but dandelion, yeah, chicory, that's another one. And a lot of them, like dandelion, there's like the subfamilies. So dandelion, there's like the dandelion type plants that are like chicory, dandelion, salsify, and various others. And their roots are all going to be, kidney and liver tonics, cleansers, and you can eat the leaves of them. The greens are going to be good, in salads and stuff, especially young, and it's called tooth of the lion. That's what dandelion means, is it's French for tooth of the lion, dandelion.
They're both dandelion, but they're different sizes because of where they're existing.
So
you can see the tooth on the leaf, tooth of the lion shape. And the other name for it?
Oh, pissenlit, which means wet the bed, because it's a diuretic. It encourages the kidney flow, and so what I love your sharing of that you we're going around trying something wild every day because it's one of my heart teachers, Frank Cook's saying was, eat something wild every day. Even if you just put a few leaves of yarrow in your salad or dandelion leaf here, just take a little nibble of something wild, and then that imbues you with the medicines of nature, and you don't have to take medicine because the medicine's already inside you. So it's a fun practice, just to try to do that as you're, exploring and expanding with this. So yeah, that's some of the aster family plants that are here. We also, we'll keep our eyes to the ground still for a minute. Another family friend here is, rose family. So can anyone identify this plant for me? Anyone know this plant? Yeah. Tara said wild strawberry.
Oh, okay.
So rose is a huge family, all of which is heart medicine, circulatory medicine, and food. So that's like your apples, all your stone fruit, plums, cherries, peaches, all that stuff, raspberries, strawberries. It's also this plant. This is potentilla. Cinquefoil. It's and the action of rose is astringency, so it's toning. Astringency tightens tissue and drains excess water. So you can use this as a tea if you're having edema or something like that. But you can also eat the leaves, of a lot of these plants. If you can eat the fruits, you can eat the leaves too. And with respect to plants and herbs, medicine is going to be concentrated in the roots and in the seeds most. Also poison will be concentrated in roots and seeds. So know that. And we'll be coming across some poisonous plants today, but even they can be used as medicine. So that's two big families right there that are safe families. And it's good to know, some families are all food and medicine. Some families are poison, food, and medicine. And but the great majority is food and medicine, and very few is poison. And even, as I said, the poisons can be used if administered appropriately by a skilled herbalist.
And generally speaking, too, with most plants, like the dandelion, for instance, again, if you are wanting to use its root as medicine, you would wait till the plant is dead, the top parts of the plant, and then you would dig up its root. If you're wanting to use its leaves, like in the spring, for instance, for a bitter digestive aid and for your kidney health, you would take its leaves when they're just sprouting out before it sends up a stalk for flowering. And when the flowers are out, the dandelion flowers are edible, and the leaves would be more bitter at that time, so you wouldn't really want to eat its leaves, but the flowers are what's presenting itself. They're available at that time, so that's what you would gather to eat. And a lot of plants are like that. But with dandelion in particular, when I was little, my mom would send us out when they were flowering to gather the flowers, and she would batter dip them and fry them, like dandelion tempura, basically. So we loved that. That was one of my early connections with eating wild foods when I was a kid. So.
And they're sweet at that time,
yeah,
too.
They really are.
It's another example of this pronoia, of everything in its season right when you need it. So we also, on this side of the path, have a bevy of a salad bar here. First, grasses. All the grasses across the earth, that's another family that's safe. You can chew the leaves, suck down the juice, and spit out the quid. We're not a cow, so we don't have the 4 stomachs to digest all that fiber, but you can still, it's like wheatgrass shots, and almost all the minerals you need are in grass. You can also use the seeds, dry them and make them into breads and cereals and things like that. So that's another safe family. Worldwide, that's, grass is an interesting case in that, that's what built most of the socially stratified megalithic cultures of the planet, or maybe not the megalithic ones, but at least the contemporary ones, is rice, the corn, wheat, grasses primarily. So a lot of energy and benefit in grasses. Another one we have here that's of great benefit. This one, I'm tempted to do a little sense meditation with you all, if you're interested. And if you know the name of this one, don't divulge it yet. Just take a little teeny nibble and pass some on. You can just tear off a little piece and roll it around with the tip of your tongue and see if you can taste. There are 5 flavors, and we're not really very well connected with it. We're used to sweet and salty, which is basically diabetes and hypertension. There's also pungent, bitter, and
Sour.
that's it. Gosh, it's a good thing we have a shared brain. So see if your tongue can key any of those flavors.
This is not the funnest plant to eat for
Yeah.
everyone.
This one's got some bitter, sweet, sour, bitter. Right? That nah.
And the action of bitter brings you back to your core.
Yeah, bitter stimulates the vagus nerve. It's also in the dandelion. So when you taste bitter, it brings your energy down into your digestion and back into your core. This also has a bit of like pungency. It's like a little warming. So this is yarrow, Achillea millefolium. It's associated with, Achilles asked the goddess Hera for a herb that would help him treat all of his soldiers' wounds. So yarrow is really great for the blood and for healing wounds. Supposedly Achilles was dipped in the tea of yarrow and his heel was left open. But so you can take this plant and chew a little quid of it if you get a cut in the forest or whatever, and put it on there and it'll heal it up quick. It'll coagulate the blood, and it also is, got astringency and, sort of antiseptic and antifungal. Good also for building the blood internally. You can eat yarrow and it will, build blood.
Some herbalists suggest, like Rosemary Gladstar, I've heard suggesting drying the yarrow leaves and just always having a little bit of dried yarrow with you in your first aid kit, basically. And so if you get a nosebleed, it sounds odd, but you can stick it in your nose and it'll stop the bleeding. Or if you get a cut, just put the powder on your cut and it'll heal it up, stop the bleeding. But it is important to note that it's good to let yourself bleed a little bit first, so that the blood will naturally wash out whatever cut you. But yeah, the yarrow is great for stopping that. And another note about yarrow is not only is it good for healing physical wounds, it's good for healing deep emotional wounds. So if you're deeply hurt, traumatized on the inside from whatever, one thing an herbalist told me to do once when I was really sort of blocking myself from healing from past traumas, he said, I think you need to use yarrow. I think yarrow is the remedy you need to use. And I said, should I grow it? What kind should I grow? And he said, no, don't grow it. Go to the forest. And I said, well, when's the best time to pick it? And he said, don't pick it. Just go sit with it. And he said it would be perfect for especially like the sort of feminine, more feminine nature, emotional, like deep emotional wounds. To just go sit with yarrow, and just the energy of the plant is healing. You don't even have to consume it, just being with it. It's like that really nice friend we all have who's just, whenever we see them or think about them, it's sort of the energy of just that thought of them is very healing to us. Yarrow is a really sweet friend to me in that respect, and I think a lot of other people as well.
And that's a good note too about just like forest bathing and just the energetics of the plants you can receive benefit from. It's also this thing that if taken internally, or you can make it into salves, or you put it on you, or just getting benefit from being with it. It's supposed to help, like, your aura deflect negative energy. You know, energy vampires, you know, the friend that won't leave you alone, and just like always come around at the worst time and wants something from you, and you like want to help him, but it's like kind of pulling your energy away. That's supposed to help with that.
It sort of helps define your own boundaries, like healing up that, open wounded energetic space, I guess. So we had a friend who made a flower essence out of yarrow. She used homemade apple wine instead of getting organic vodka. She just that's what she had. So she put her yarrow in the wine and made a little flower essence with it. She used it for whenever she knew she was going to be around too many people and just needed to have that definition of where she was and where the other people were, like the boundaries, so she didn't get overwhelmed by all the other energies and experience the confusion, the negative, unwanted energies.
So we have many other friends around us too. Now that we'll get our eyes up off the ground and look at a few trees, and then we'll get down the trail, I promise. It's always like this on foraging walks because there's so much everywhere. It's really awesome that way.
You can just go sit and need to walk.
Right here is big tooth maple. This is our native maple. It is a sugar maple, so you can get some sweet juice from it, though they don't get big enough that you could like drain them and make maple syrup. You could get a little maple water in need, in the forest. But you can also eat the keys. They're little seeds here. These guys. It's also good to thank the plants as you take from them. Like, we like to share about and even a thank you verbally, or sharing giving one of your hairs or a little tobacco. Energetically makes the situation better. It gives you a better sense of, this, sharing that's coming to you, that you'd like to imbibe this sustenance from nature. So that's helpful. We also like to share about foraging practices, so that when we go foraging, we're not taking too much, And one rule of thumb is 1 in 10, come again. A lot of people go by that. So if you have like a big, like right here, we have a whole salad bar of dandelion greens and yarrow, and you'll see there's wild parsley and stuff up here we're going to get into. So here's a place where we could completely have a big munch, but if there were just a few plants, you would just take a little. So the keys of the maple, are just, it's like most seeds. It's going to be protein rich, if you ask the tree and he wants to share, or she wants to share, you're free to sample them. We'll pass it around. And the little wings, you can kind of peel away. The real nugget is the seed itself. Another great friend right here is the aspens, or Populus tremuloides. This is, I won't give you the nibble test of this one. This was an extremely bitter plant, and another quality of bitters is they tend to expel parasites. So this is a antiparasitic medicine. You can take the inner bark, is highly nutritious, and it will also expel parasites. You can also make a flower essence from it, and it's quaking aspen. It's supposed to cure fear, just like unreasonable, like that friend of yours is just a little too jittery all the time.
Be afraid that you're shaking, like the aspen shaking.
Yeah. So, and you can eat the catkins that will fall, when they ripen. And you can batter deep them and fry them, and put them in a curry, or like the sky's the limit. You can just like work these things in, and then you're, I find that to be the most effective way to incorporate herbalism as a health modality, is to just work it into your like smoothies and your stir fries and your, just whatever you're eating.
Can you talk about aspen and aspirin?
Oh yes. Well, you could too.
I feel like there's a little more you have to say. There's the willows as well, but
Well, they have
in
a
regards to aspen and aspirin
well.
and that connection.
It's because I believe, I don't know if it's etymologically related, but the salicylic acid that is in willow that they chemically synthesize to make aspirin is also present in aspen. So it's also a pain medicine that you can use, and a tea of, aspen bark or willow bark is going to be less taxing on you than aspirin, is, chemically, our society likes to take everything and make it as, pure and potent as possible. And sometimes our bodies need it dialed back a little bit. A more gentle path. In the Chinese traditional medicine, they say the gentle path is the most healing path. So, firs and pines are high in terpenes. So that's what is in cannabis, and one of the things that people are after medicinally, are the terpenes. And terpenes are good for respiratory health, for digestive health, for neurological health. So it's a really wonderful flavor on this one. There's also the Doug fir over there, and we'll run into, the Ponderosa probably. And they all have a unique flavor. But you could pair this with like meat or faux meat or mushrooms or whatever, and it would be kind of like, rosemary-esque, or, you can make tea out of it, more rich in vitamin C than oranges, ounce for ounce. And you can eat the seeds of all the cone-bearing conifers. That's what a conifer is a cone-bearing needle tree. And they make little papery, thin seeds, but you get enough of those and they're quite filling. And that's what squirrel lives off all winter, so keeps him alive. Got to give thanks to them. And that whole thing of terpenes being good for, that's another thing I would like to speak to really quick, is this thing of the law of signatures, how nature gives us signatures of what is good for what. So walnuts are high in omegas and stuff, and they're good for the brain. Ginger is convoluted like roots, and it looks like, your intestines. Trees make terpenes that are good for your lungs, that are dendritic branching, and there's this relationship of oxygen and CO2 exchange between us and the trees. So, and this deep, deep history we have with the trees, living with the trees in Africa, up in the safety of them, away from, lions eating fruit, in the savannah. That's in all of our deep genealogical history. Yeah. So, God bless the trees.
This is something Todd found right over there where we were seeing the tiny dandelions. There's a tiny version of this plant. I don't know if anybody can recognize what food from the grocery store you would
Wild parsley, yes.
recognize it as that right away.
Yep. So we had a little bit of confusion about this because we were calling it wild carrot. It's in the parsley family. So parsley family is another family that's like, it's a family that's poison, food, and medicine. A lot of our food and a lot of amazing medicine is in parsley, as is, hemlock.
Poison hemlock, which looks almost identical to osha,
So
is the number one deadly plant that you want to avoid.
it's the one that kills more foragers and wildcrafters than anything else. So we'll meet that today, and we'll give you the download on the difference. But the characteristic of the parsley family is this umbelliferate flower on all parsley plants. So it's a composite flower. It's a flower made of many flowers. Thank you, friend. Take this and pass it around. You can look underneath, and you'll see that there's tiny little pods of flowers, and those are beneficial habitat for beneficial insects like ladybugs and mantis and stuff like that. But it's also a telltale characteristic of the parsley family. And feel free to taste them. This is a good example also of individual morphology. These are the exact same plants, same genus and species, but look at the difference in leaf. You see how this one's so much fatter and this one's more fine and articulated? This is the doshas being represented in the individuals of these two different plants. This is a more kapha plant. It has more earth and water and is more broad and stout, you know. So kapha is earth and water, pitta is fire, and vata is air. So this plant I see to be more vata. It's taller, airier, has thinner, finer leaves, you know. So this is some of the reflections that are in the plants and in us. I'm a pitta type. I'm kind of like, you know, lean and somewhat stocky, but not like, you know, real stocky. You know. Anna's kind of kapha, pit, and vata mixed, where she's earthy. She's got dark skin tone, dark eyes, you know, dark hair, and a grounded nature, you know. But she's tall and thin, and you know.
Well, and the characteristics can also be expressed in energetic or mental ways rather than physical.
And we have different healing needs. That's why different people need different diets. It's not like everyone can be a raw foodist, or everyone can be a carnivore, or everyone has individual, very big individual needs. So that's some more of that. And here, before we pass by, is wild raspberry. Once again, the rose family.
What was this one? Strawberry?
Yeah, so wild strawberry, wild raspberry, and potentilla. Those are the three roses we just met.
So can you eat the leaves of the strawberry and the
Yeah.
Yes, you
raspberry and
can.
all that? Okay.
Sorry?
Is that wild geranium?
Yes, and
That's
that
different from the
that's different from the potentilla.
And it's called cranesbill.
Yes, and that's a good one to note.
Cranesbill.
Wild geranium. So
You'll
a lot
see
of the
some with bright pink leaves and or flowers, and some that are really light colored like this too.
a lot of the geraniums, and this is, I'm speaking broadly because we're talking about the families, are hemiostats, so another good blood builder, blood medicine. Also has germanium in it, which is shown to be active against cancer. As are many, many things. Like dandelion root is shown to be very, very effective. As are medicinal mushrooms and many, many, many things. So if you can incorporate these things into your diet regularly, it can help stave that. 1 in 2 people get cancer these days. And we're bioaccumulators, we're at the top of the food chain, and all of the garbage and poison we put in the environment is going into us. It's karma. So the plants are here as our allies and guides to help clean it up. They can do the bioremediation in the soil, and they can do it in us too. And so if we honor them and help them and use them, and, you know, we can turn this thing around on, I believe, on some of these debilitating health diseases, you know, things that afflict so many Americans are largely lifestyle related and diet related. And, you know, if we can get good oxygenation, good diet, good hydration, the 4 elements, earth, wind, fire, and water. Okay, so the needles on fir are flat. You take a look at, you can take that and pass it around if you like. They're more flat. I don't know if you can see that with the camera, but that's how you tell the fir. On the white fir, it's got this, like, you can kind of see how it almost has a whitish hue. If you get kind of its aura more, you know, it's this blue-green. Whereas the Doug fir is darker. Here's our Doug fir. It also has flat needles, but see how it's smaller, little rounder, and darker.
Are the pines and firs safe in general? So if you eat the wrong one, you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I need to know.
That's what I'm trying to share here. By and large, it's just families that are completely safe. And we'll get into some of the riskier families too. There you go, wild rose. Rosa rugosa. So you can take the edible hips off these, the flowers. We put the flowers of rose and raspberry, and then we add that with nettle and various other herbs for like our moon tea that we offer for sale for people, or for
Hanazu's, you know.
I like to offer to everyone with the rose family being so wonderful and helpful and safe. If like Chris was asking, can you eat the leaves of the strawberries? If anyone feels called to, because the plants will speak to you in that way, you can nibble the leaves of the raspberries, of the strawberries, of the roses here, and notice when you're tasting them how there is that astringency that sort of brings you back to yourself, and it tastes like the way the roses smell. That's what I feel when I taste the leaves.
That's something else I'd love to
beautiful
share
flavor.
about with rose, since we're here right now. Rose is this emblem of love, right? We give rose to our mom or our love partner, or as an emblem of love. It is a heart medicine. It actually is got the plant phytochemistry in it. It's good for heart, good for blood,
And grief.
it's also good for just your and that's what I was getting around to, is it's good for your emotional health to incorporate rose. When you get too watery, water is the element of emotion, so you can get a little bit too like, oh boy, and this strengthens the heart. I think of it in that way. So
And a lot of people use the rose hydrosol for anti-anxiety. It's one of the most common
you can just spray it
instant
in the air.
relief. Yeah, you just spray it in the air around you, and it just instantly brings you back to that feeling of comfort and like everything's going to be okay.
And aerosolized plant fragrances, the reason why we like them is that we are getting their plant chemistry. Like when you smell rosemary, it increases your memory. They found by up to 70%. So you could, all those days in college when we were drinking coffee and staying up till 2, we could have been smelling rosemary.
I think I know what it is, but I won't say yet. We'll pass it around.
Yeah, I think I know what that is too. Do you know what it is?
I don't know. I haven't. I didn't get a look at the gills
Yeah.
or the spores.
So we were hopeful to run into some fungi today. We're a couple of fun guys. And we love fungi. And this is a story I like to, bring in on all these walks, is sort of to remember that the fungi and the plants are our ancestors. So after the amalgamation of the planet, the sun, there's this big cloud of energy, energy and material, and it condensed into the sun. And there's all these rocks that condensed into the planets, and the proto-Earth was just this big fiery ball of these extremophiles. The things that come in on asteroids and stuff that can take the vast extremes of temperature and everything from space, and they landed here. And after the atmosphere formed, it watered those fungi and bacteria and molds and got them propagating. And so the early landscape, they have fossilized remains of these mushrooms that were 12 feet tall, that were dotted all over the landscape, that broke up the early earth and made the first soils for the first plants to come in. The spore-laden plants, like the ferns. And fungi are more like animal than they are like plant. Their bodies are like the cellular structure of our brains and our nerves. And so these are actually our oldest ancestors on this planet. And then the plants after that. So as Rudolf Steiner says, we're actually plants that grow soil on our bellies, in our bellies, so we can walk around. And we photosynthesize through our skin and through our eyes, because you can't get vitamin D without good sun exposure, and you can't process stress hormones like cortisol without full spectrum sunlight. So we are in a way plant/fungi. So this fungi, I'm pretty sure, is an agaricus, or horse fungi, horse mushroom, or meadow
horse
mushroom.
mushroom and meadow mushroom.
And if you smell that
King's
smell,
bottom is another name for it.
it smells like a portobello. Kind of,
Okay. Now there's a look-alike that is called the yellow stainer.
Yeah.
And this one is so old that it's turned yellow, but the yellow stainer has a really bad smell. It's like phenolic, and it looks almost identical to this. But when you pick it, it will bruise yellow almost right away, and has a bad smell. Like you would know not to eat it.
It would, and at its worst, it would give you digestive upset.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. So the agaricus are a portobello and button mushroom, cremini mushroom. Most of your mushrooms that you get at the grocery store are that mushroom. It's just a cousin. So
maybe we'll find more of those.
But that is an edible.
that is an edible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We also have two friends at Hana's Feet that are edibles.
I'm already nibbling on the leaf of this one here.
Does anyone want to guess what family that is?
Pass that around if anyone wants to.
That's right. Good eyes. That's thimbleberry.
It's
So
like raspberry, but it's slightly different. But the leaves and fruit can be used in a similar way as an astringent, as a uterine tonic or astringent. And if you taste the leaf, you can tell it tastes like rose petals.
And the berries are good too, right?
Yeah, I like them better than raspberries. They don't have the seeds that get stuck in your teeth like raspberries. But they often fruit a lot less than raspberries, so when I find one, it's like a special treat, and the rest I leave for the wildlife because there just aren't that many. I've never happened upon a patch of prolific thimbleberries. This is bedstraw, is the common name, and I'm hoping that we will find its relative, which the common name is cleavers. But I would encourage everybody to touch this one because when we find cleavers, you'll see the similarities, but you'll feel the difference. Cleavers has like a Velcro stickiness to it, and it'll cling to you, whereas this one is in the same family. It's another gallium. Cleavers is gallium aparine, and I forget which bedstraw is, but they can be used interchangeably as a lymphagogue remedy, which is to clean out your lymph system.
And particularly, it's supposedly good for like the women and
reproductive
the lymph nodes around the reproductive area for ladies.
Yeah, more commonly for women than men, but it's for both men and women. And the reason it's called bedstraw is because people would gather it. It can be really weedy, grow in large patches. People would gather it and make their beds out of it.
But a nutritiver, you could use it in your salad and eat it, and it's going to be very sustaining. And also that lymph, people don't realize how important the lymph system is. Of our interstitial fluid, which is all the fluid in between your cells, 1/3 of that is blood, and the rest is lymph. So your lymph is way more important than your blood. And when you get sick, it's because your lymph is plugged. So this is one food/medicine that you can incorporate to keep lymph open. This is in the heath family. This is bilberry, related to blueberry. So it makes little tiny blueberries that are very delicious. Come fall, it's a little bit, before the trees start turning. These start making these little blueberries that are super delicious. Blueberry being super high in resveratrol, the antioxidant that's like really good for long life. So that's I get excited about that because that's another early plant for me. Total plant was blueberries. When I was like 3, I loved blueberry pie. I would just gnaw on blueberries like crazy. So, yeah, that's a nice friend. Right here is where I stop, because here we have our great friend Osha. And I encourage all foragers and budding herbalists to get in touch with your totem plants. So for me, pine, blueberries, cacao, cannabis, and Osha are huge totem plants. They've been with me for many years and helped me thrive. So I extol them and regard them, as great friends and teachers. And OSHA, as you can tell, has that same parsley flower to some degree, and parsley look to its leaf. And I'll just thank you, friend. Pick one of these here. You can take a little bit, smell it with your fingers, and take a little taste if you want. You can smell right away. It smells kind of like lovage. The way to tell it, differentiate it from hemlock, is that hemlock will have purple splotches all up and down this stem, and it will smell horrid. You don't even want to handle it with your bare fingers, actually. You'll absorb some, you won't get dead, but you can get negatively affected. So we gather the greens at this time of year. When it goes down, we'll gather the roots. OSHA is a respiratory medicine, really good for the lung. It's a warming respiratory medicine, and that's why it's important to know the difference of the energetics, because you may have a dry, unproductive cough. If you take a warming herb, lung herb for a dry, unproductive cough, it's just going to dry you out worse. You would want a moistening respiratory herb like licorice rather than OSHA for a dry cough. If you had a wet cough that was coming up a lot and you needed to just get it worked out, you would go to OSHA.
Now, does OSHA grow around streams and stuff normally?
It tends to grow around. It grows all along the stream here, and we're one of in a rare place in the world because OSHA is actually an endangered species, and we're in a rare place that we can, safeguard it and keep it, tend it. It grows prolifically in northern New Mexico, and there's ways to forage it. This is something I'd love to share about forest gardening. So when we take this plant, we'll wait till the seeds have come. 98% of their seeds will germinate if there's mycorrhiza in the soil. These forests are replete in mycorrhiza. So we'll spread the seeds. Then when we dig the root, you almost always break some off in the bottom. You just leave that there, it'll grow a new plant. Then we'll chop off the top and plant that as well. So effectively, we've made 2 plants plus spread seed. We may put if it's on a hill like this, we might put a stick, and plant it there so that the water, so that you're actually gardening the forest as you're taking. So you're not just taking, and that same thing with even just giving thanks, a hair, or thank you, anything.
I want to point out too that Ligusticum corderi is what we have here in the Rocky Mountains, and that's the one that is endangered. But Ligusticum grayi is a different species. I think it mostly grows in the Northwest and probably elsewhere, but I'm not sure where. And grayi has the same medicinal properties as corderi, according to many herbalists, and people are being encouraged to use that one instead of Ligusticum corderi. But like I said earlier, in New Mexico, people revere it as such a sacred plant that they are scattering its seed, they're properly and ethically harvesting it, so they're not taking too much. And
The older
replanting
families, the old norteños,
They really take
know
care of
how to take care of it and do. And some of the younger kids go and they'll just dig it all up and go take it and sell it.
Or people who
So
don't
it's-
have that relationship with OSHA, they just don't understand. So they're, they think, oh great, OSHA, this is a moneymaker, I'm going to over-harvest it. So it's really, Ligusticum corderi specifically is the one that's endangered, but as Jesse just mentioned, there are ways to help it stay alive and proliferate.
You can grow it in your gardens too,
Yeah.
take it down and grow it under your fruit tree, and give it a little extra water, a little mushroom compost, and help it along and take the seeds and, it's good to tend the plants in these ways, especially if it's like a totem plant for you.
find a big patch of it, we'll show you how to harvest it.
There's a lot all along here. You can see it flowering back there.
Yeah.
Quickly here, we have another plant. This is called fireweed. It tends to show up after fires have cleared through a place. And you can use the leaves as a pot herb. So you can, when you're making stew and what have you, can just throw it in, to your stew or your soup. You can, stir fry it or put it in your salad, but they say you should maybe do it in a change of boiled water before you do. You can also eat the young spears when they're just coming up. But it's also supposedly somewhat good for burns. Yeah. Fireweed.
Does that have, what color flowers does that have?
Purple. Like fuchsia, like brilliant. Yeah. So this is a look-alike. It's also in the heath family of, it's one to differentiate. This is Pachystoma. It was used by native people as a medicine. I've been trying to get to the root of what its benefits are, but I pointed out because it looks a lot like kinnikinnick, which is Uva ursi, which I hope to show you, because Uva ursi is a really good medicine for urinary tract infection. But this is a medicinal plant. I've been rooting around trying to find out, what its uses are, but haven't as of yet found any. So this is a wonderful and fun plant. This is pedicularis, and there's 3 or 4 kinds of pedicularis that grow here in New Mexico. This is a musculoskeletal nervine, so it'll soothe your musculoskeletal system. That's good for people who have trouble flying or traveling, getting all kind of crinkled up after sitting a long time. Or it's also supposed to be good for people with like TMJ, or like, the nerves that are just like if you grit your teeth at night when you sleep, for instance. It's a nervine sedative, and classically it's smoked like cannabis. It has that same sort of quality of being kind of calming and soothing to the nerves. So this was utilized quite a bit by native people. It has interesting quality in that it connects its root system with other plants. So when you harvest it, you want to be sure that there's no toxic plants around, because it will take up the toxic alkaloids and concentrate them in its body. So right here we got thimbleberry and rose and parsley and gallium, and this is all medicine around here. So this is a good place where you could harvest some of this. If you were going to take a long flight and you were one of those people who get like, I get that way because I've injured myself doing permaculture. I threw out my L3, got a herniated disc, and so if I sit on a plane for 4 hours, like, I could work all day forever, but sitting still really affects my skeletal muscular system. So I'm about to go to Hawaii in a couple months, and I'm planning on harvesting some of this and making tincture for my trip. This is kinnikinnick, or Uva ursi, a great medicine. You can see the berries forming here now, and you can use the berries, or the root is really got the highest concentration of the berberine, which is good for the urinary and kidneys, urinary tract and kidneys. And you can clean up. This is one of the best things on the planet for cleaning up your UTI. Here we have, this is false Solomon seal. It's in the asparagus family, and you can, when the shoots are just coming up, you can eat it just like asparagus, raw or cooked. So that's a nice one. It's also got this, you can use this root, it's got this branching architecture that almost looks like the joints, and that's the signature that it's good for joints, and so herbalists use it as a joint medicine.
And what you do is it grows rhizonomously, So if you're going to harvest it to make a remedy for joint pain, you would harvest the piece of root in between two different plants, and then you would make a tincture out of that.
Over here, the red flowering plant is Castilleja, or Indian paintbrush, and you can eat the blooms of that plant. They concentrate selenium in selenium-rich soils, so you're supposed to be weary of that. But I don't know how anyone would differentiate, and it's not like you would just stay on this one place and eat all of them. You know, it's that whole thing of, as a forager, you're roaming around, and you're taking a little here, and you're taking a little there, and not just like, I'm gonna just plant here and just eat this whole pile, you know. So, something to be aware of a little bit with respect to the plants is to just like, you know, move around as you forage. And
There's also some artemisia behind you.
oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, let me share this one. Everyone pass that around and give it a smell. You can take a little piece and
Crush it between
crush it in
your
your
fingers a little.
fingers.
What's the common name of that one?
This one is mountain mugwort, and this is Artemisia family, which is
It's a mugwort. I'm sure.
the sages, like big sage that happens out, you know, by the gorge and everything. And it's also, it's not the culinary sage that we use for cooking. It's the sage, the same family that absinthe is made from, for instance. So the sage family is another safe family for medicine, and it's an antifungal, antibacterial, anti-parasitic medicine. So the whole thing of smudging, you know, with sage actually volatilizes all those oils into the air and actually makes the room more clean in terms of microbes and what have you. So beyond just the energetic level, there's that physical level. It's also, all the sages are like digestive tonics. It's got that bitter principle. So eating them, it brings that energy down into the vagus nerve and stimulates digestion. It's also known as a dream herb, especially mugwort. Used to be made into dream pillows. Mugwort or lavender that you would put under your pillow while you slept, and the aroma and the volatile oils would kind of move you from this realm to the next, you know. So I love little things like that with herbs. There's so many stories. There's all these things like Anna was alluding to with the culture around her family with, you know, fairies and gnomes and elves, and that's across the world. Whether it's, you know, in Asia they have like those little spirit houses, you know, then those are for spirits, for spirits, you know, and they'll bring them things, and you know, it's just a fun magical realm out here. I feel like with the mushrooms and the medicinal plants, and so we got a few notables down here. Right here, can anyone guess what family that is?
From the parsley family?
Yeah,
That's a cow parsnip.
cow parsnip. So that is an edible. You have to be careful. Some people's skin reacts really negatively. You can get burns from it. So if you're interested in it, like, handle it with some gloves at first. And what you do is you harvest the stalk, peel off all the leaves, peel the stalk, and chop it up like celery and cook it. And it has kind of a strong celery flavor, like really potent celery. Really delicious, actually. Especially paired with like mushrooms, rice and stuff. So that's another good one. But yeah, be careful of that one. It's also, I think it's giant hogweed. There's a look-alike that I don't believe happens here, but in case you're traveling abroad or whatever, there's a look-alike that is poisonous. So be sure you have the right plant.
I saw that on the video recently.
Yeah, so, you know, I like to tell people check 2 or more sources. Listen to me, and then check a book too. And then try it, you know. Or get an app and check 2 books, you know. Or a YouTube video, and, you know, just find multiple ways to get corresponding information. So the other thing I want to point out, there's quite a few here. The other thing I want to point out is this plant. That's red elderberry. So elderberry is a great immune enhancing medicine. It's also a very good lung herb. This is red elderberry. Red elder is high in the cyanidins that are poisonous, but you can still collect the flower to make medicine. You can use the berries, but you have to cook them to kill the cyanidins, and when you do that, you destroy most of the medicine too. So, but that can be used for immune medicine. Then there's all this fireweed down there. This plant is larkspur. These guys here. That is one to know because that's one of the most deadly poisonous plants that are in the forest here. Don't mess with that one. It's also called monkshood. There's a few different kinds of larkspur that happen here, but they're all the larkspur are poisonous. And then one last plant here to share. This is a great plant. This is another parsley family called Sweet Sicily. And so you can eat these seeds and they're like fennelly. And you can eat the root and it's like licorice. And it has that same benefit of being like carminative, helping expel gas and bloating, but also good for digestion and has that sweet taste. So people will make cookies, foragers will make cookies with the root of Sweet Sicily and, to flavor their cookies licorice. So I don't know if anyone wants to try any of these seeds. You can pass that around. And what's that called? Larkspur. Can you touch it? Yeah, you can touch it. It's not as poisonous as poison hemlock by far, but it's pretty gnarly. Not to be ingested. There's another one called, there's one in flower. Look, here, that's even better. Here's the larkspur in flower. You can see why it's called monk's hood. It kind of looks like a monk's hood, or my hat that I'm wearing. So in alchemy, they talk about the plants are a reflection of heaven. That all the trees and plants are actually stars, reflections in the sky. So here we have columbine, and that's a pretty nice example of how that could be, right? And Tara was just sharing with me that what is
If
it?
you use that for a flower essence, it's supposed to help with confidence.
So flower essences are a really fun and safe way to play with herbs. You can use any flower, and even if it's besides maybe hemlock, pretty much any flower, even if it's got some poison, you can still work with it in flower essence because it's going to be so trace in terms of
Larkspur?
what?
Is it a larkspur?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is the practice with flower essences is you sort of follow your inner guide. When you're attracted to a flower, if it calls to you, you just take it and you put it in some water. And you may put that in the sunlight or in the moonlight or starlight and just let it infuse just gently, And then you kind of take just more of a spirit dose, an energetic dose of the plant. And that can help more of the subtle body or the emotional body. We saw fall Solomon seal a bit ago. This is Solomon seal, also in the asparagus family. This one you can eat the berries of, and they're called watermelon berries. They taste like a little similar to watermelon. So here is a place where the water is coming out of the ground. Here's a natural spring. So spring water is the cleanest water you can get on the planet. It's been purified and rarefied, it's put in crystalline form, rained down, gone through all the sand and the strata of rock through the earth, sat for 10,000 years or more, gained enough spin to be pushed back up through the earth, through all the layers. Never saw industrial pollution. It's just pure crystalline liquid download from Mother Earth. I like to think of it as like the milk of the mother. So it's something that's important to include in like your health practice and in foraging too. Just an interesting note, this is the best place to forage for water is right here at a spring like this. This one's a little hard to get, it's got all this stuff growing in here. It'd be hard to get a drink from, but we can keep looking. There's springs all along here. We might be able to get a little sip of wild water.
Mountain too, if you come to Taos frequently, there's places where you can just see it shooting right out of the mountain and just stick your water bottle under it or just drink right from it like a water fountain. It's so magical.
And it's that whole thing like Dr. Moto, you may know of his work where he studied, just the crystalline structure of water and its ability to hold dense information. And actually computer companies are studying this for the next generation of computers because, water can hold more information than silicon. So this is getting information. And it becomes your blood in seconds. And it's what we need primarily. You can go quite a long time without food. You can go less long without water and less without breath. But water is primary. Burdock here is a wonderful, wonderful plant. The root is what is most often used as a food / medicine. I like to get away from this parlance of using the plants because as our ancestors, we don't go, to your grandma and go, hey, how can I use you, grandma? But its benefits are that it's good for your kidneys and your liver. It's a good nutritious, fortifying food. So you can buy it in the grocery store at Whole Foods, but you can also come out here to the wilderness and find it. But I wanted to share this plant with you. This is Mahonia, or barberry, and this is another good medicine for urinary tract infection situation, or kidney and urinary tract. And you would dig up the root for this, but it also makes berries. You can see them coming now. And after the first frost, it shocks the sugars and they get really tasty, and they're a lot like blueberries. Very sweet and delicious. But this is clover, red clover. And clover is a nutritive herb. That's its main benefit, is it's just very dense in nutrient. And the red flower, when that comes, that's usually what people will gather for tea, and you could also use that in salads and stuff like that. But you can also use the leaves and the stem. So just to point that one out, this is a great herb to just have kind of incorporated all the time, in teas or salads. Most of us are demineralized because our farming practices are such that everything is geared towards shallow-rooted plants. We're growing them with nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, and then they're being shipped and sitting on shelves for a long time. So the scant amount of nutrient they have is being off-gassing the whole time. Then you get it in your fridge. By the time you get to it, it's almost got nothing left in it, So these nutritive herbs like nettle or clover can really top us up on like the selenium and the chromium and the magnesium and like all these trace minerals and stuff, because they're deeply rooted. Like alfalfa can have a root as far as 200 feet deep. So it's pulling all this stuff up from a broad soil profile, and you're getting way more nutrient that way. And generally speaking, wild plants and foods are going to have way more nutrient beyond their interesting medicinal phytochemistry. They're also going to have more mineral density and nutrient density. And especially if you pick it fresh and stick it right in your mouth, So, and that's the way I love to do it. So I stopped to meet these guys. This is thistle. So thistle's another very safe family that you can eat all the thistles. And the way I work with it is I either juice the whole plant, or you can cut it and peel off all the leaf and just chop up the stem and eat that raw, or cook it, into stir fries and stuff, or into soups. So that's a good way to work with thistle, and they happen like in the mountains and down low, and they're a good plant to get connected with. There's this wonderful stuff also called Spanish moss. This is a nice lunger. It's also in the age of antibiotics, where we get these really high-grade antibiotics that basically destroy all of our intestinal flora and everything. This is a low-grade antibiotic. So in an instance, I try to stay away from antibiotics. I believe that by fortifying yourself with probiotics, nutritionally rich foods, phytoplant medicine, all the time, that you can stay away. And I have personally been able to stay away from a doctor and haven't been sick in like 7 or 8 years. But if you have something that's particularly nasty and you're thinking about antibiotics, this is a low-grade antibiotic and could knock back a bacterial infection without destroying all of your intestinal flora. And this is some of the benefit of the plants, like, for instance, like cherry bark. Wild cherry is a great respiratory, sort of cough medicine. If you take codeine, it will suppress your cough, and you won't feel your cough, so you won't be so irritated. But you also won't cough up all the phlegm and get it out of you. Cherry bark is low grade, so it will, take the edge off the cough, so it's not so irritable and you're just coughing endlessly. But it'll make it so you can still cough up, and this is the gentle way in which plants help us, so just that little sharing about usnea. So we'll take this home and tincture it in alcohol, and then we'll have it on hand for winter for, if the kids pick up a bacterial, infection or whatever. And another little quick note about this is like the hairs of this. That is kind of the signature of it being a lung medicine. You have the little cilia hairs on your lungs that help you absorb oxygen. And this is kind of, similar looking. So I think I'm going to take this one. Cal had a nibble of it. There's all these nice big ones, but these ones are still flowering and getting ready to make seed and stuff. So in this, hope to garden, I'll leave those ones. And this one that got munched we'll get after. And I like to use this, hori knife for getting roots and things, in the forest. It's my go-to tool. But you could do this with, I've done it with a stick too, in a time of being like, oh shoot, I didn't bring my hori. Look at this osha. And I try to just lift the top layer a little bit so I can kind of plant it back, And the trick with these is that they either grow in like real rocky soils or in amongst with a bunch of other plants, and their roots will go down and then kind of tend to go out sideways. So
it's kind of rhizonomous, which is why you usually see them in clusters. If you see the root, you'll realize why it's also called bare root.
Oh, I thought it was because it's strong tasting.
Well, it's because the bears dig it up and eat it, but it's also really hairy, and like the brown hairs on a bear.
Huh.
So
the other plants that are related to it don't have roots like that.
So in indigenous life way understanding, bear is the herbalist. And one of the reasons is that bear will come and dig osha up in the spring. And so bear, what happens is, bear has this huge feasting and gets all fat and hibernates all winter. And that torpor and that super dense food state leads him to have quite a bit of toxicity. And osha is a chelator, so it'll chelate toxins out of the body. So in spring, bear comes and digs up osha and eats osha to cleanse from a whole winter of just a huge, massive feast and then a giant nap, you know. So, chelators are important in your health practice, and there's many forms of chelators, even just green leafy plants chelate, but that pulls stuff out of your deep tissue, like your bones, like uranium and mercury and things that get in there, you know, and that can lead to things like bone cancer. So as you can see here, it broke off here and here. So that's gonna grow again right there, right? So I'll usually clean off whatever mud I can here, right here at the hole. And then I will take my knife and just cut off the topmost part and plant that back in.
Around and show you guys the hairs at the very top. This is where the plant stock was growing right here. At the very top, it's really hairy. So the other roots,
that's
like I was saying, that are related to it don't have these hairs.
That's once again a signature of the respiratory medicine, the hairs, the cilia, you know. But that plant is just, I think, amazing, amazingly powerful. One of our great medicines here in New Mexico, you know, for sharing with the world. These are a wild form of currant. You know, gooseberry, waxberry, and currant are all ribes. And so that's another really safe family. The ribes family are powerhouses of, you can eat the leaves, you can make tea from the twig. That's very tasty. It tastes almost like black tea. And then you can also eat the berries. High in vitamin C and really tasty. Today, because it can be easily confused with either osha or sweet Sicily, because it's quite similar in appearance. This is baneberry or red cohosh. So the berries of this are known to be toxic. I've heard accounts of people eating them and then just spitting them out because they're bitter and untasty. But if a child supposedly eats as many as 2 of these berries, it could send them to the hospital. So there is a pretty serious concern with them. However, the root, it can be used as what they call red cohosh, similar to black cohosh, for women's issues, particularly with cramping and hard menses. It's sort of a muscle relaxant, and also helps balance estrogen. So medicinal uses, but be careful with this one. I also found a couple other friends while I was looking around. Here is wild violet. Passing around everybody's camera. Violet is in that realm of food, medicine, and toxin. It's kind of a food herb, but it is also a lymphatic herb. So another herb that will help clear the lymph system, and you could eat it. It's considered a food grade herb in that you could eat, a mountain of it, and you'd be okay, So that's a good one to know, because they're throughout. There's usually a good carpet of them in the forest, and they're very, very tasty, very sweet, or just kind of mild, and what our palates are more accustomed to in terms of a salad. So if you get a whole salad of dandelion and yarrow, you're not going to get through it. If you can base it with violets, though, that'll help. Also wanted to share this fun plant. This is a saprophyte, actually. It's kind of a sporulating plant. It's called pine drops. It's related to ghost pipe, and it has been used in the area as a respiratory medicine. And then this is called bluebells, and you can eat these little flowers. So
That's what you
it's
were
good to
asking
eat
about earlier,
flowers.
wasn't it?
Rudolf Steiner says the flower is the astral part of the plant, right? It even looks like many flowers are in star shape, you know, and it is the part that goes up into the air, you know. And so I think it's also sort of connected to the emotional body. So I think it's good to eat flowers, you know. Put roses and flax and bluebells and things in your salads and your dishes, and it increases their beauty, but you know, also you kind of get this energetic. Pines and firs and stuff has many curative benefits. It's a good respiratory medicine, so you can, you know, just boil some hot water and put some pine sap in it, and that can help as an expectorant. It's also antimicrobial, antifungal, antibacterial. So if you get a cut, you can take a little bit of sap and just smear it on there, and it'll stop the bleeding, make it, you know, clean. And I'll just take yarrow and put a little on there, and then put a smear of pine sap, and that's better than any Band-Aid. It's also a penetrant, so you can add sap to salves to drive medicine into the tissue. Many benefits to the sap as well. And my friend just made an awesome salve of like sap from like cedar and pine and like fir, and he gathered all these different saps and made this salve. And I use it on my cuts and stuff that I get on my feet, and nothing works like that. It's just awesome. So here we have Alexinum. Okay, so this is called a aspen bolete or a scaber stock, and it's called the boletas tend to have this hamburger top kind of thing with a polypore structure. But this isn't actually a boleta, it's a Lexinum. They taste very similar and are edible. Some people have had gastrointestinal distress from this mushroom. My stepdad is an avid mushroom forager and has been his whole life, and hasn't ever been able to eat this mushroom. I had a friend who was gathering them for years and ate them for years, and then all of a sudden had trouble. And then, but I've been eating them for decades and had no trouble at all. They're only deliciousness. So we'll take this sucker down. So you can eat the stalk. This is, you know, in terms of mushroom morphology, the stalk is called the stipe, and this is the cap, and this is the core, and essentially it's the penis of the mushroom. And you can see that in even its morphology. That it's also more like the fruit. So people worry about, you know, over harvesting. You pretty much can't over harvest mushrooms because the mycelium is already there. You know, like the tree, the branches and the flowers and everything are already there, and this is just the way to spread the seed. You know, and so me working with it right now then gets it all in my clothes and everywhere else, and I go around town and I shake someone's hand and the spores keep transporting. So there's less worry with over harvesting mushrooms than over harvesting plants, especially things like OSHA if we're getting into pulling up roots.
Just reconnect with what you recognize, and I can tell you that I definitely want the thistle and the pine needles in the juice. And if you feel called to add anything else, I've kind of separated it and see if you recognize what it is, what it's called. This is something we didn't see a lot of, so I'm not sure everybody actually got the name of this one.
Is it a violet?
Yeah, this violet. Not all violets are blue. Not all roses are red. What? So, yeah, feel free to take turns adding stuff to the blender. I've already put an apple and a lemon.
It's going to take a little bit. That's good. We may be here 20 minutes or so.
Well, we'll appreciate it all the more.
Yeah.
It's really easy when there's nothing.
I know that I have a spoon in the car too.
Oh, I have a spoon.
Good.
Tastes
Like,
better.
No, this
ended up
this
with a
is
box and we was like,
Oh, wait,
these
maybe
things, but
Yeah. Oh, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
To your health. May you all live long and prosper.
Hey, thanks to the plants.
Cheers, friends.
Cheers.
Be well. Forest goodness.
Yeah.